Hi, everybody. My name is Wayne Kennedy. Nice to meet all of you, even though we're not really in the same room. Um, I actually am from the Midwest. I'm an only child, farm boy from Southern Illinois. You can look that up on your map at some point if you want. But I moved from the Midwest to New York about 23 years ago. So my background is the arts, basically, because I was very involved in theater in Chicago and education as well. So at some point, I decided to go to the big city of New York and moved in 1996, right after a huge snowstorm. But I've been in New York ever since 1996. I've been teaching college, I've been in the theater as well, and I'm currently an instructor with the English Language Institute at the College of Staten Island. And I look forward to meeting all of you at some point as well. Welcome. For students taking a TOEFL course, I feel that there are a number of considerations that you might want to give thought to. And one, what is your goal when you're taking the TOEFL course? Is it just to take the TOEFL course because you want a TOEFL score to get into a higher institution of learning? I understand. It's a good reason to take the TOEFL because you would need that. If you take the TOEFL, for example, in the CUNY system, if you pass the TOEFL exam, then you are on a clear pathway to enroll in any of the CUNY schools. That's a great plus. Some people may not want to do that. I'm very aware of students who take the TOEFL course because there's a heavy focus on reading and grammar. It can be an alternative course, if you will, to a grammar course. So there are a couple of reasons there of why one might want to consider taking the TOEFL course. Also, I just wanted to add to this is, if you're thinking about taking a TOEFL course, are you also thinking about what your TOEFL score, the TOEFL score that you want to achieve? Depending on your career goal, some career schools require a certain score that might be, the profession might not be as high a score. It might not be such a necessity to have such a high score. But other professions require one to have a higher score for entrance. So it's important to do a little planning. Like any student who's furthering their education, what university do you want to go to? What college do you want to go to? What are their requirements? Think ahead, do your research before you even take the TOEFL course so you have an idea of what your personal goals are. I think that's very important for a student planning to take TOEFL. In the TOEFL course, there are many different tasks. The TOEFL course itself, the test, for example, or preparation for it, is divided into sections. So section 1 might be heavily focused on reading and comprehension, main ideas, details. Section 2 might be focused more on structure, grammar-related kinds of questions. These kinds of questions might also, section 2 might also include idiomatic expressions. So whereas section 1 is more focused on reading, section 2 is going to be very heavily focused on grammar, picking things apart. Another section will be focused on writing, the writing component. Usually the writing component for TOEFL is not going to be a long 5-paragraph essay. It's going to be more a shorter version, perhaps like four paragraphs. But the TOEFL course itself is divided into very structured sections for learning. And speaking. I forgot. I didn't want to forget speaking. There also is the speaking component. And it's interesting in that some students, I wanted to say earlier, and I may not have mentioned this, it's important to know your strengths and weaknesses. If you know that your speaking skill, you're more comfortable with speaking, not writing, then going into the course, you're going to be a little more focused on a certain section because you know you're going to need to really improve that area. And not everybody is comfortable with speaking, for example, or writing. In the TOEFL course, you're practicing, you're learning, you're strengthening all of your reading skills, main idea, uh, details, examples, support for the main idea, a thesis, tone, um, identifying tone, uh, summary skills, vocabulary, certainly vocabulary is required. Elevating your vocabulary is very necessary component for success on the TOEFL. That's just, I'm just quickly mentioning reading. When it comes to idiomatic language, grammar skills, heavily focused on those. You're definitely going to improve those kinds of skills on the TOEFL. Um, Listening skills, writing skills, any skills that you've normally already been actively engaged in, they will be touched upon in the TOEFL test itself. You know, that was, when you're talking about a target, that implies knowing what the score that you must achieve in order to enroll in the institution of your choice. So knowing in advance the target score that you must achieve will be helpful, because you will then know a little bit more about what skill area do I need to practice and focus on more than another, because I may be already better at this skill than this skill. So everyone, it's been a pleasure to meet with you and speak with you today. I hope that you're as inspired to join us in our community of learning as I have been inspired to be a part of the community of learning also. I look forward to meeting you in the near future, whether in class or online. And so welcome to the College of Staten Island, City University of New York.